The lecture hall fell silent as Professor Velthar projected the ancient symbol onto the holographic display. It hung there, suspended in golden light, a marking so old that it predated every known civilization in the galaxy. The Archaeological Guild had found it carved into the hull of a derelict vessel, drifting at the edge of explored space, a ship that carbon dating suggested was over 4 billion years old. "This," the professor announced to the assembled xenolinguists, "is what we believe to be the first written word in the universe." Kiza sat in the back row, her human frame dwarfed by the towering Crithians and the gelatinous Kutar surrounding her. She was the only human in the advanced xenolinguistics program at the Galactic Institute, a fact that her classmates never let her forget. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 3 centuries since first contact. What could they possibly contribute to a field dominated by species with millennia of linguistic evolution? Nick, her study partner and one of the few who didn't dismiss her outright, leaned over from his seat beside her. The young Athelian's scales shimmered with curiosity. "Remarkable, isn't it? They say 12 different species have tried to decode it." 13, corrected Professor Velthar, his auditory sensors picking up the whisper. "The Hive Collective attempted a translation just last cycle. All have failed." For the next hour, the class watched as the professor displayed various translation attempts. The Crithians believed it represented a mathematical constant. The Kutar insisted it was a harmonic frequency. The machine species of Nexus 7 argued it was a coordinate in space-time. Kiza stared at the symbol, something nagging at the back of her mind. The curves, the specific angles, there was something hauntingly familiar about it. "Now then," Professor Velthar continued, "I want each of you to apply your species' linguistic frameworks to this problem. By next cycle, I expect a full analysis. Remember, this isn't just an academic exercise. Whoever cracks this code will fundamentally change our understanding of the universe's origins." As classmates began discussing their approaches in excited clusters, Kiza remained fixated on the symbol. She pulled up her personal datapad, fingers flying across the interface. "You're being quiet," Nick observed. "Usually you have theories." "Give me a moment," Kiza muttered, accessing the human historical database. She filtered through ancient Earth languages, Sumerian, Sanskrit, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Proto-Indo-European reconstructions. Nothing matched. She went further back to proto-writing systems, to cave paintings, to... Her breath caught. "Professor?" she called out, her voice cutting through the ambient conversation. The lecture hall quieted. Professor Velthar's eye stalk swiveled toward her with what might have been annoyance. "Yes, human Kiza." She stood, legs trembling slightly. I think I know what it means." A ripple of amusement passed through the class. A Crithian in the front row made a grinding sound that translated as laughter. "The human thinks she can solve what the greatest minds in the galaxy couldn't?" "Let her speak," Professor Velthar said, though his tone suggested indulgence rather than belief. Kiza projected her datapad's display to the main screen. Beside the ancient symbol, she placed an image that made several students gasp. It was a photograph from Earth, taken in a cave in Malawi dated to over 70,000 years ago. "This is one of humanity's oldest known symbols," Kiza explained, her voice growing stronger. "We found it painted on cave walls, carved into rocks, scratched into bone. Before we had language, before we had civilization, our ancestors made this mark. The similarity was undeniable. Not identical, but close enough that the connection was unmistakable." "And what does it mean?" Professor Velthar asked, his tone shifting to genuine interest. Kiza zoomed in on both symbols, highlighting the specific curves and lines. "It's a circle with a cross through it. Anthropologists debated its meaning for centuries, but the consensus emerged from studying hunter-gatherer societies that still existed into modern times. This symbol appears in dozens of human cultures, separated by thousands of years and miles." She paused, meeting the eyes of her classmates. "It means home, it means place, it means..." She touched the symbol on the screen with reverence. "Earth." The silence that followed was profound. Nick was the first to speak. "But that would mean that whoever built that ship 4 billion years ago used the same symbol that prehistoric humans used," Kiza finished. "The same instinct, the same need to mark territory, to say this is where we belong." Professor Velthar's tendrils quivered with excitement. "The implications, if this is correct, It suggests a fundamental pattern in how sentient species develop symbolic thinking, not just humans, but potentially all conscious beings. A Kutar student pulsed with bioluminescence. Or it suggests something even more extraordinary, that the beings who built that ship understood something fundamental about consciousness itself, about the concept of home. The Krithian who had laughed earlier approached Kiza's display, examining it with all four of his eyes. The mathematical precision of the curves. If we apply the same proportions to our own early proto-writing. He trailed off, his expression shifting to astonishment. Over the next hours, the class erupted into collaborative analysis. Species after species found similar symbols in their own prehistoric records. Not identical, but variations on the same theme. A circle, a mark, a claim of belonging. As the other students worked frantically, Nick turned to Kiza with something like awe. How did you see it when no one else did? Kiza smiled softly, thinking of her home planet spinning in space, of ancient hands painting in caves, of the universal need to say, I was here. This matters. This is mine. Because, she said quietly, sometimes being new to something means you still remember what it feels like to search for home. The first word in the universe, it turned out, was the same as humanity's first word, and in that convergence the galaxy discovered something profound, that despite their differences, all conscious beings shared the same fundamental yearning, to belong somewhere in the vast indifferent cosmos, to find their Earth.